What's up? It's your fucking washed up bi-yearly YouTuber here to give you a shit opinion about a deck that nobody's gonna play. Yeah, Colossus came back to 1, and it's the first good ban list I've seen in like 4 years, so we're talking about it. Before I go into this, yes, I did also see the OCG ban list. I will be playing 3 of this when it comes out, but Colossus coming to 1 for Thunder makes this deck so much more playable. It does literally everything for the archetype. It's essentially a Link 1. It's an end board. It's something that gives you more follow-up. It does literally everything for the archetype, so having it back is immensely important. So let's just fucking get in the list. We got... I'm just gonna split these out. This I play at 2 because at 3 you don't really want to draw this at 3 because it's the worst one to draw with no other cards. At least with these, if you draw into like your instant fusions or your solars or something, you can combo with them, but this plus nothing gets you nothing. So it's best that you just play 2. You get 3 of these because you need to recycle it, 3 of these because you need normal summons, and then I'm also on 3 solar and 3 aloof lupine. These are the ones you want. You have to open some combination of these and these. This one is the most applicable because you can draw any of these and this, and you can still combo. Solar has the least amount of combos, but it has the highest ceiling. So like if you draw this plus Hawk or this plus Roar, you get full combo plus a couple extra stuff, including Fusion in the Grave, which is huge. But you need to open some amount of normal summons, which for this deck to play, so you need to max out on pretty much all of them. Another thing with Hawk is that if you draw it with the Fusion, like with Thunder Dragon Fusion, or if you do it with Instant Fusion or Ready Fusion, this doesn't do anything other than just make Titan and maybe Mulligan. And it's the weakest effect on here because you're trading the Mulligan for the ability to just 1-card Colossus, which is extremely not powerful. So you want to just play 2 of it. Spells. 1 Gold Sark, 1 Called By. If you would play 2 Fusion and then you play the 4 of these. If we had more than 1 Gold Sark, I would cut these. I'd cut like 2 of these, and I just play 3 Gold Sark just on the spot. Playing these suck because you instantly go -1 whenever you have to make combo with this. But you just have to play because this deck needs some combination of combos to get playing. And then the Hess deck has exactly 12 flex spots. I decided to play Fenrir as my first one. So this used to be Nibiru, but it got to a situation where I would keep opening boards of just Nib in hand, and then you would essentially nuke your own board, and because you don't have Fusion in Graveyard, or because you activate D-Shifter, you have no follow-up. So you kind of want this so you can summon it, make follow-up, and then this actually interacts with another card in the extra deck that lets you play through more hand traps. So yeah, this is what I've come to like at 3. I thought about playing the Unicorn and Birth package, but it's just not enough. I don't really have enough spare slots in the main deck to justify that. So just 3, this is fine. 3 Ash, because it's the most applicable, and because you're under D-Shifter most times, or like a third of your games you're under D-Shifter, so this into Snake Eye isn't nearly as bad. 3 D-Shifter. I hate running this card. This thing is in time. I'm not gonna act like this doesn't carry this archetype. But because of this, it leaves some unique problems that this dark type has to deal with. Mostly that if you resolve this, you have to have follow-up in hand. Otherwise, you're not playing past turn 1. Because you can't put Fusion in the graveyard, it means you can't have any like your infinite loop follow-up. So you have to draw into something, which leaves this deck open to a lot of comeback, which is how you lose most of your games when you open this. If you open this and you make a board and your opponent breaks it, 9 times out of 10 you can't play again unless you have something in hand. So I would cut this, but it's just too powerful not to play. And then 3 Imparm. This is the second best hand trap in the game. It's a 1-for-1 trade going second, or it's a just interruption. So it's like you should play it. Extra deck. 1 Colossus. My son is back. I am playing 1 of him. 3 copies of Titan. This is your infinite grind game. You need to have 3 of this, especially since we only have 1 Colossus. If we had 2 Colossus, you could maybe justify... If we had 3 Colossus, you could maybe justify cutting 1 of these, because then you can recycle the Titan with a Colossus to make a Colossus, but as of now, you don't really want to do that. Kaminari. This is the instant fusion target. It's recyclable in this deck, so you don't have to worry about playing more than... 1 of it, because you can just return it off of Fusion to make Colossus. Chaos Angel. This actually comes up a lot more than you'd think. Aloof Lupine plus any Thunder makes this, which is kind of niche, but sometimes it comes up. Like if you're playing under D-Shifter, it's better to make this instead of Little Knight, because this can protect your Colossus from battle. So you don't have to keep quite as much resources in hand to make follow-up, but still you're still relying on your opponent not to have an out. Sky Crisis, this has come up like 2 or 3 times, but this is one of the flex spots. Well, something you can consider running is the new rank 10, and I've had some success with it. The problem is that 9 times out of 10, if you're making it, you're getting nibbed, and then both the materials on it are falling off. So you need to have, so it just doesn't do enough. So you're still better off just making Little Knight, and in which case you could use the slot for something like this to out one of your hardest matchups, which is Branded. And then you play 2 Little Knights. Yes, this is the most expensive part of the deck. I'm 90% sure these are more expensive than everything else in the archetype, but it's just too good not to play 2 of. The first one you're going to use to make your board, because it makes you nib-proof. The optimal board, quote-unquote, is this plus Colossus, because if your opponent nibs you, you can Little Knight target itself and Colossus, tag out both, nib fizzles, and then you make these get revived in the end phase. And then use the second one to for follow-up. This is usually what you'll turn your follow-up roars into, or if you make Titan. This card is really good in here because you're always going to have a material for it that's an extra deck monster. Whether it be Titan 9 times out of 10, that's what it will be. Or you can use Anima with Matrix, which is one of your better plays if your opponent plays suboptimally. If your opponent plays into a board, or plays into the EMZ zones, you can Aloof Lupine, banish anything, get Matrix on the field off Roar, and then just suck something up and then make Little Knight. This deck is really good at breaking boards, but the problem is just maintaining the boards that it does make is a lot harder. But if we have 3 Colossus like OCG just got, which, by the way, yes, I'm aware that this is likely going to be posted just before a ban list. If I get schmeated by it and Colossus comes to 3 or something, if we get 3 Gold Star, I'll update it, but high key, I don't think we're going to get 3 Colossus. Goddess, this has come up a couple of times, especially with Cross Sheep. What you usually do is you'll either, if you're going first, you'll make Cross Sheep and then you'll turn your materials into Appaloosa, which this should be banned if I'm being honest. And then you'll go Colossus Appo, which is enough to play through Nib, and it's better against Snake Eye than just Little Knight Nib. But it plays really hard into Nib if your opponent does have it, because you'll 9 times out of 10 make the Cross Sheep and then Colossus under it, and then that'll be your 5th summon right there. And then Underworld Goddess is what you use to out weird stuff. Like I've outed Quick Fix in defense with this thing. I've outed, what was it? I outed the Raid Raptor things at my locals, and then you out things like Appo with this sometimes. And then Blast of the Extra Deck, Link Spider, this is just what you use to link off your token, so that way you don't have to use the Anima, and then you make, and then sometimes you play this. If you're broke, like I am, this is a Little Knight you can play. What this does is 2 things. Firstly, if you open Fenrir and your opponent imperms the Aloof Lupine or imperms the Solar, you turn this, or you link the 2 into this. You'll then banish this, draw a card, or, and then summon the Fenrir, and then hopefully you'll draw in something playable. Or, if you have something in graveyard, you can banish the thing in your graveyard, target this. This becomes that monster's stats. And then that, like if it's a Dark or a Matrix or something, they can then float, and then hopefully you can get some plays going from there. Side deck isn't really relevant. I mean, I can show it to you, I guess. It's not actually anything different than what you would see in just a regular list. I mean, I guess there's one card that's different. You can play Bells. It's just another hand trap in times where, like, what's called, like, D-Shifter's bad. This is your going first card. If you're going first, you're siding into this plus this, and then you're taking out, like, Ash Imperm or something like that, or like 9 times out of 10 you're actually citing out the instant fusions, because you just don't, you need turn skips against something like, say, Tenpai, which is a problem for this archetype because they actually have a few native outs to Colossus. And then this card's just good in general. It's just 3 more copies of D-Shifter, and if you draw this plus Solar, you can actually choose when you want to use it, so that way you can optimize putting stuff in the graveyard for Colossus, and also optimize like having this on the field at the right opportune time. Duster, Lightning Storms, these cards are okay, and then Evenlies. Depending on how the new format goes, I'm thinking about putting Dark Ruler in instead of Evenly against Fiendsmith or anything Snake Guy related. But we have a lot of Rogue at my local, so we have things like Labyrinth, we have, what's that deck called? The one that puts up the 5k guy in the trap. I don't know what it's called off the top of my head, but that's one of the decks that's flying around my locals a lot. And then I haven't actually seen any mirror matches yet, so siding for the mirror match has not been a problem. And then you don't care about weird things like D-Shifter, so you don't have to sideboard for that at all. Otherwise, this deck is neat. I'm glad Colossus is back. It's been like 4 years. I'm super happy to see him again. I have not stopped playing this deck since the ban list came out. I'm really happy that it's back. And if we continue to get more support, like high key, I think we might get 3 Gold Slark on the next ban list. I have my set of QCRs on the way. Then I think we're balling. If we get Colossus back at 3 like OCG just did, I'm not saying they would. I don't know why they did that. Maybe it's fine because technically in a combo deck that plays Colossus, you play one of it anyway for the combo with Cupid Pitch. But like if you're playing full power or full thunder, having 3 Colossus is huge because you don't lose to Kashtira anymore. Because Unicorn ripping out your Colossus isn't a killer. And you on top of that, you don't lose to Fenrir. And you don't have to worry nearly as much about follow-up. Your hands become a lot more playable in the late game because you have 3 copies of your Link 1. So you can just Hawk, Revive Dark, and then instead of having to have another normal summon to turn it into a Link 2 to make Fusion live, you can just make Colossus and then search. Like, if we have 3 of this deck changes a whole lot. Whether or not we still run things like D-Shifter or Fenrir is debatable at that point. You probably still run Shifter, but Fenrir you probably don't have to play anymore. You'll actually probably start running anti-hand trap cards. So like you can cut down on instant fusions and play like crossouts and nibs and like imperms. You don't fear Ash Blossom as much because Aloof Lupine just plays around it 9 times out of 10. But imperm is definitely a problem for this archetype because with 1 Colossus, your opponent just holds the imperm for their turn and then imperms this and like, what are you gonna do? Little Knight target itself and Colossus? No, you're not gonna do that. So it's a problem. This deck has some problems, but I think it's super fun, and I'm really glad Colossus is back. Do the thing with the player or with the comment section, engagement, stuff like that. I'm not monetized at all, so if you want to do that, that's cool. If not, I just love talking shop. So if you want to talk about Thunder Dragons in the comment section, I'm down to do that. Have a good one. Peace.